All right, hopefully everybody can see my screen on how to start my title slide, how to start a data quality management program. And I should mention, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer, Elizabeth will be monitoring the Q&A for those questions. So please put them in there. I'll be happy to answer. This is your chance for free consulting. How do you beat that? I like to joke, if it's free, it's me. So now you get it. So let me go through my slide deck. So first off, a background on EWS Solutions. For over 28 years, we have been doing data management programs, many of which have had a data quality component. I shared in kind of our pre-webinar talk that I've done 3 enterprise-wide data quality programs over my career personally, and I'm doing a 4th right now. So we've won basically almost any award you can think of in this area. So I want to bring you things that work, that what I do when I'm on site to make data quality function. We've had over 155 client partners since that time. This is my background slide. I will not read through it, but I do include my email address down here. If you have a question about your project, please feel free to shoot me an email. I'll respond as best as I can. So, this is Elizabeth had mentioned that this is part 2 in a 3-part series. We did people back in August. By the way, if you go to datamanagementu.com, you can find links to all of our past webinars. I did a year on data governance. We have a lot out there. This is going to be process. And then in a month, in October, I'm going to talk about technology, one of my favorite areas of data quality. And I have to share with you, I think it's one of the least understood. My goodness, I go into massive organizations that have no idea that there's technology to use for data quality. Anyway, what am I going to talk about today in process? I'm going to talk about 4 key things, and that is how to define business terms with valid values. Again, something I see missed all the time. How to implement a data quality remediation framework. Again, this is something most organizations miss. Implementing data quality rules, and then defining data quality defect categories. Essentially, I'm just going to give you my template that I start out with when I'm defining these. Then I'm going to do something pretty avant-garde, and that is I'm going to walk through data quality dimensions. Somebody like me who's been a practitioner for a long time, we've always had 8 data quality dimensions. And in really doing another enterprise program in this, I had to go back and rethink those dimensions. I'm not the creator of the original 8, those go back to the 90s, but I think they needed an update. So, in particular, security and regulatory, those were missing from the original 8. They're not missing now because I really think we have 10 dimensions of data quality. With that, I have a lot to talk about. Let's get going. All right. Defining business terms with valid values. This is a key task in your data quality program. Too often, data quality programs say, hey, I'm going to look at this table, and I think these 5 rows are inaccurate, have a data quality issue in these 3 columns, let me fix it. But that is not repeatable because you have to go through a process of understanding what that column should be equal to. What are the valid values? What is a precise definition? And so defining business terms with valid values is critical. Business terms are the concept of your business. For example, product type is a classic business term. Customer balance, agreement name. They're a term for a concept in your business. Super important to define. When you define your business term, one of the things you need a precise definition, and where you can, where it's applicable, valid value sets. So, do you need a list of valid value sets for first customer first name? Probably not. There's a lot of variations on first name. However, customer type. you should have a set of valid values because we talk about there's such a strong push if you're in a federal circle of data sharing, and if you're even in a business of having systems that are integrated that can communicate easily with one another. The number one barrier to systems that can't communicate is the fact that one system has customer type as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and another has it as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and another has it as who knows what. All that has to be fixed and resolved in integration processes. That takes a lot of time, and many times it's not done the same way each time, and you're repeating it over and over. So we need to have precise definitions. By the way, when we hit technology in a month, data governance software is a common place that stores this type of metadata. Everything I've talked about, a precise definition, valid value sets, a list of data elements that represent the business term. These are all examples of metadata. So for example, customer type. If you're at a global 2000 company, you may have hundreds or even thousands of data elements, which are columns in a table, that equate to customer type. And you want to know that because if you ever make a decision to change customer type, you want to understand all the systems that that kind of a change could impact. So when I talk about defining business terms, this sheet here, this slide, I've spent years and years building, modifying because of just work that you do on site. I want to give you guidelines and rules, my guidelines, my rules for defining a good business term. And you'll see these in certainly most, if not all, of the data management methodologies that are out there. Number one, we stated in the singular. Notice I said customer type, not customer types. Uh, they need to be stated as a descriptive phrase or sentences, no more than a single paragraph. So when you're building a definition for a business term, a couple sentences should be fine. Don't go beyond a single paragraph. If you do, you're just doing too much. By the way, one sentence definitions probably are insufficient. So you probably need more than one sentence, but you need but keep it within a paragraph. State the business term. Next point is critical. When you talk about what a business term is, when you're giving a definition, say what it is. Don't say what it isn't. So on my example of customer type, it would be like me saying customer type is different than purchasing type or product type. Well, that doesn't help us at all. Telling us what it isn't does not provide value. It should state what it is. Critical thing here, avoid circular logic, what we call tautologies. So don't define customer name, which really probably should be customer first name, as the name of a customer. This is a tautology. When you have a circular logic within your definition, you have added nothing to the business term that you have. Saying customer name is the name of a customer tells you that definition tells you nothing more than what the business term is already. Um, again, an example people like using in the industry, it's like saying a cheeseburger, giving a definition, is a burger with cheese. Again, doesn't add value. So do not use tautologies. I would say more than 50% of the definitions I see in the industry when I first arrive at a client partner site are tautologies. Your definition should be concise, precise, and unambiguous. So concise, not too long, single paragraph or less. I normally do 2 sentences, 2 to 3 tops, and I'm done. Precise, I'm saying exactly what it is. Unambiguous, black and white language, clear, not gray. By the way, a good definition should be able to stand alone without any embedded definitions. So a good definition should stand alone. Don't embed rationale or functional usage or procedural information. That's not useful. To rationale it is something data stewards should be working on. Next, use standard. There are standards out there that so there are ways to help you yourself and your organization in getting definitions for your business terms. At one time in my career, that was something that was commonplace when you would start a data governance or data quality program. We would need these definitions. Data stewards were new in their positions. They weren't comfortable doing it. I've probably written over 1,000 business definitions for business terms over my career, at least over 1,000. And a lot of times it's redundant and not really I don't think it's the best use of my time. But you can streamline these processes in ways we couldn't. One way, use standards like ISO. For example, the ISO date format is CC, so century, like right now, it would be 20. Year, YY, 25 would be the correct answer. Month, so right now we're 09. And then day, today is the 4th, 04. So standards like this can be helpful, but I'll tell you something that's really neat. Data governance software, lots of the vendors today have capabilities, and I'll talk about this in a month in more detail, where you can type in a business term and it'll use AI to generate an initial definition. And I got to tell you, the definitions are not bad. And I can say as a writer, the worst feeling in the world is a blank sheet of paper. And I got to do a task, I got to write some, and my sheet of paper is blank. We all feel that it's hard. So to even get a beginning definition that then a data steward can tweak is a wonderful beginning. Um, you can use examples if you would want in your definition, but they're optional. Avoid generic business terms. So the first time you're defining your business terms, this is going to be difficult if you've never done it because many business terms could have multiple meaning. For example, rate. I said the word rate, and a word will pop, a definition will pop into your head. But there's a lot of rates out there that impact the company. So interest rate is much more specific. Interest rate. Okay, wait a minute. That narrows it down. But annual interest rate is even better. Annual frequency. Are we talking about a monthly interest rate? Weekly, daily? What's the frequency? Annual gives a frequency. What kind of rate? Interest rate. Ah, much better business term. So be careful of having generic business terms. Okay, and if anybody has questions on defining business terms, put them in the Q&A. Be happy to answer. All right. Implementing the next step, implementing a data quality remediation framework. Big task. It is missed by almost everybody because what a lot of people want to do is just start cleaning data. And that's a mistake because number one, if you don't have those definitions and you don't have valid value sets, you don't have a rubric for saying what's right and what's wrong with this data. So let me give an example here. A data quality remediation framework, this is one of the biggest things you construct in a data quality program. Number one, it should explain so data quality remediation, that's the keyword. What is our process to fix data quality errors and defects when they are discovered? What does it look like? Who do we have to communicate with? Who are the application team leads that need to be part of that discussion? It goes through the key remediation roles and responsibilities. And it should be, when done correctly, a step-by-step process for remediating data quality defects with a RACI for each step. Remediation, it should also include, so again, step by step, what group looks at it, who fixes the error, who categorizes it, which we'll get into a little bit more. It also has reporting requirements. Great data quality programs, or actually even baseline ones in my opinion, have to have reporting as part of its components. We went over this last month. Metrics and KPIs, and if you missed it, how could you have missed it? I had a slide that had about 24 metrics and KPIs that I use for my data quality program. You don't have to listen to me talk for the hour. You can just download it from the Data Management U website. So, and just find the slide. It'll be obvious. That kind of information is critical because data quality programs, if you want to survive, you need to show your value. Next, remediation escalation process. Not all data quality errors are made the same. And you'll see this later because I'm going to give you a whole um, system for categorizing your errors. So they're not all the same. Sometimes if you just have a misspelling of a name, that might not be the biggest error if it's a person's first name. Now, if it's a business name, that can cause other problems, but um, that may not be the biggest error in your organization. But if you're messing up on customer number, that could be quite serious. And so a remediation escalation process is critical. Obviously, what are we trying to do? What are the really important errors that we need to fix now? What are the things that are killing us? As opposed to the nice to fix, the ones that our reports would look better, our company would run a little bit better. Those are not as important. So you want to measure and rank the defect importance level. How important is it to the organization that the defect is fixed ASAP? I didn't put in the meaning here, probably most of you know it, as soon as possible. So we want to know, and I'll give you my framework for that later in this webinar. Your defect reporting categories and scope, including downstream effects. So when you have a defect, you need to first understand how many enterprise systems and applications are affected by this defect. What do I mean by that? Well, if this data error is starting in our system, the one we're looking at, which again, in my last webinar, I discussed you want to fix errors at their source. That's critical. If that data is going to 20 or 100 other applications and your general ledger, and then it's going to another 50, then that's going to be a complicated error because we are causing problems throughout our whole IT data lifecycle. So I need to know how many enterprise applications use this data, how many non-enterprise applications, maybe systems for just a small group of individuals or even one. How many columns are affected? Is it just a single column in error, or is it a combination of columns that are part of this error? How many rows? Sometimes you can have errors that affect hundreds of thousands of rows when you look at it throughout all the applications. And then it's not just fixing all your applications. How many reports, how many visualizations, how many views are coming off of all those places that are in error? Probably quite a few. In my experience, again, Global 2000, large federal agencies, thousands and thousands of analytics are being spun off of these data sets. Also, within your remediation framework, you have to have your defect complexity categories and your remediation complexity categories, meaning how hard is it going to be to fix these errors? So I'll give you an example in the organization I'm working with today, and they're large, complicated, um, it's a very demanding place. Historically, they've not done well in data quality. So we want to actually prove that it can be done, and it can be done effectively and well and without pain. So we picked a vital, critical application where the application team truly wanted to work with us and were motivated to work with us. And we only targeted data that started within that application and stayed in the application. So we didn't have to deal with downstream applications. It was a great first pass, a nice single thread that we can fix, something that we knew could make a difference. And by doing it like this, I made the scope smaller. We didn't have to have a large, complicated remediation process. And especially in this organization, the second you go across applications, the complexity is really, really difficult, especially in their world. Anyway, so understanding the complexity of the remediation is vital, and you need a way to categorize those. Because what do you want to do? You want to fix the errors, the low-hanging fruit. What are the errors that are really hurting our organization and that are easy to fix? Let's go do those. I hope this makes sense. because it's critical if you want to be a data quality professional. Too many people, let me maybe take a step back, get on my soapbox. I have worked with a lot of data quality folks, met many, many over the years, and a lot get burnt out. A lot can't stay in the field because they try to move an organization too far too fast instead of being a little more strategic, a little bit more, let's do something tactical that can help a system. And in this case, we're taking one of the top three applications in this whole organization, fixing some glaring problems. And because the problems don't spin off into other applications, we only have to work with one team and get one team's buy-in. So much easier than cutting across the enterprise. So, some key things: learn from the mistakes of others. Learning point. When you really build a remediation framework, it takes time because we need to get other people's buy-in. So it's going to be a lot of meetings and a lot of negotiating with our application owners because we need their buy-in. All right. I could keep talking about remediation frameworks, but I need to keep going. Implementing data quality rules, absolutely vital. Um, and again, data quality rules, what are they? These are programmatic rules that run against applications to identify defects. Now, normally you're going to build these in data governance or data quality tools. Again, next month I'll talk about technology, but a good data governance tool, the ones that I like to recommend, have strong data quality as part of them because I want to hit as many things as possible in one tech stack. But there are plenty of data quality, and even the data quality tools, most of them have some pretty decent data governance capabilities. So we see the data governance and the data quality tools merging as time goes on. So when we talk about data quality rules, normally you're going to put them in a tool, and these are programmatic rules that are run against applications that identify the defects. These rules should be in your tool and should be part of your overall enterprise data quality monitoring framework. Learning point, and this is one that just drives me nuts. Um, some say that these rules can be executed continuously. You'll find articles on the internet that talk about this. There is a difference between internet articles and reality. And in my experience, in the real world, dealing with real organizations, it is not technically feasible because to continually run data quality rules against applications constantly throughout the day. Because what happens is you're hitting those apps and you're slowing them down. And believe me, I know the feeling of triggering my data quality rules to run, not continuously, just one off, running it in the middle of the day, having the application team either bomb them out or call us up and complain that you ran the rules during peak time, in which case you feel like quite the idiot, may I say. So here's what's actually feasible and what I find that works. I run my data quality rules off peak periodically, not every day, not even every week. Um, Normally, it's going to be less than that, maybe every couple weeks, every month. Run the rules periodically, do them off peak. Weekends tend to be really good. In addition, when it comes to people are like, well, what about making sure we don't have any data quality issues that evolve? That's where your data entry rules are critical. Lock up your data entry. Give people pick lists of valid values. Get that right. And that's going to stop. So I think of data quality problems as a boat that's sinking. If you're in a boat and it's taking on water, it has leaks. The first thing you do is not to bail water. That's not the first thing. The first thing you do is plug the leak, stop it from happening. Then you bail water. So, running your rules, locking up your data entry, making sure that bad data doesn't come into your systems, that's the secret sauce to data quality. All right, let me keep going because my goodness, I have a lot to talk about. Defining data quality defect categories, this is critical. So, not all data quality defects are the same. I mentioned this earlier. Oh, again, before I forget, if you have a question, put it into Q&A. I am here to answer them. Not all data quality defects are the same. So what I want to do is give you the four categories that I use when I begin working at an organization. This is my starting point. I can modify them in any way, shape, or form. Some of you who really know your old school programming may recognize this group, but I like to have four to begin with: informational or warning, error, severe, or critical. Informational warning or warning. An issue has been discovered. So some data is breaking our data quality rules. When these particular rules are broken, there may be a data error. Notice the word I used, may. Not 100% that it is. So for example, if um, the first name, I'll go back to first name. If in one area, and I'm a customer of yours, if in one area my first name is spelled D-A-V-I-D, David, and another one it's spelled Dave, D-A-V-E, that could trigger a data quality rule. That could fail a rule. But is it necessarily wrong? Maybe not. Where birth date, let's say they show somebody born in, a century of 18, that's incorrect because nobody's lived that long. So it could be an error. So something that's tagged as informational, if the defect falls in that category, we need a data steward to look at it. Somebody who knows, or a data owner, somebody who knows it, who can look at it and say, yeah, that's a big problem, or nah, this is small, or it's not an issue at all, in which case it's just informational or a warning. Number two, error. An issue has been discovered in the data. The error does not involve a key field, and it's not an urgent matter. The business or the mission is not significantly impacted. So I use the term business or mission. Business for commercial entities, mission for federal entities. It's just a different way they think about stuff. So if it is not significantly impacted, then it's an error. A data steward or maybe a technical steward will need to investigate the matter further. It may need to go into our remediation process, but it's not a big deal. Severe. A significant issue has been discovered in the data. It's a problem. This issue requires a timely response as the business or mission is negatively impacted. So this is hurting us, and we need to have a timely response. It can't wait forever. A data steward or technical steward, again, need to investigate. At some point, somebody who really knows data is going to look at it. Last but not least, the critical category. A terminal issue has been discovered. This issue puts the company or agency at risk and requires an urgent, or if you will, immediate response. So I'll give you an example of this. Working at a large financial institution, Global 300 company, they had an issue that was discovered in the data. We had to jump on it. If it would not have been discovered 2 days later, they would have been in violation of a big SEC law and would have been on the front page of the Wall Street Journal in not a good light. That's a great example of a critical error, a critical defect that, oh my goodness, we need to get on the phone now and get people looking at this now. Whatever it is, this rule has caught something, and it's caught something big, and we need to deal with it immediately. So when you are doing your data quality program, start with these four, get rid of one, add one, whatever you want to do, but it's a good beginning. And I just took out at least some of the thinking of this for you. Okay. Phew! I've gone through a lot of the process components with you. Some of the key ones I wanted to discuss. If you notice, I took the areas of process that I feel that organizations are lacking, that they don't even know they have to do. Now I want to talk about the data quality dimensions, the 10 dimensions of data quality. And I mentioned this before. I, Historically, I know we have some data quality professionals out there. I'm just looking at our. It's a little bit hard on Zoom for me to see everybody who's all the people attending, but if you've been a long-term professional in data quality, you've seen the 8 dimensions of data quality. Some even had it at 6. I really think there's 10. And in doing a data quality program again, um, I had to revisit this. And so I was excited to share with everyone today what I think is really the 10 dimensions of data quality. So first on the list will be accuracy, then I'll go into completeness, consistency, authority, timeliness, validity, uniqueness, relevance, and the two I added, security and regulatory. If you're a professional in this area, you know we have to have those two. This slide here, when you download the slide deck, print it up, put it in your office. That's all you really need to know. I put all this detail in here so that it would be an easy one for you to hang up in your office. Okay, let me continue. These 10 dimensions, why do we even care about dimensions of data quality? Why is that relevant, Dr. Marco? Because these dimensions give us an approach, a rubric for understanding whether or not our data is of good quality or bad quality. 95% to 99% of organizations have no clue the quality of their data other than it's bad. Or you'll get, and this is the harder group to work with, the delusional ones who think, oh, it's great. Um, and they have no metrics to prove it. When I build a data quality program, we do KPIs and metrics based on these dimensions of data quality so that you can look by dimension. Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? How much have we improved? All this other stuff. Keep in mind, not every business term has all 10 dimensions of data quality. Some do, some do not. For example, regulatory. PII is a personally identifiable information, is a huge topic for anybody doing data management. And there's a bunch of regulations around it. But stuff that is not PII, then it probably won't fall into the regulatory component. All right. Let's go through all 10 in detail. And then I'll tie everything up and take your questions. All right, accuracy. How well does the data reflect real world values it represents? For example, valid addresses, correct spellings of names. So I'll tell you a little, I know next time I'm doing technology, I'm aware of that, but let me give you a little thing here. Data quality software, much of it has address checks, so valid zip city state combinations. You don't see it much in data governance software. In fact, it's pretty rare. I don't even know if I can name one true data governance software package that started as that can also do address matching. I don't know. I don't know of one. I can name you some data quality vendors who've really gotten into data governance who they can do it, certainly. So accuracy. If a real person with a social security number said their social security number is 999 well, that is not an accurate social security number. That is not a valid one. So we need our data to be accurate, meaning it reflects real world value. Okay. Completeness. To what extent all required data is present? So for example, if a data set contains a person's work address and it's missing the city and the state, if this is a United States-based one, then the address portion of the data set is incomplete. I have a lot of people who I've worked with in Europe and in Africa, and their addresses are no less complicated than ours in the United States. It needs a complete address. And if something's lacking, then it has failed the completeness dimension of a data quality check. Consistency. Whether, and this is the one I will tell you, just again, I want to give you as much from the field guidance as I can. When I'm implementing a data quality program for an enterprise, and I'm doing it for the whole thing, I normally don't go after consistency first. I will wait on this dimension. I'm going to do it later because consistency is all about whether the data is the same across multiple systems or data sets. One version of the truth. Have you ever heard that? I would bet for all the people we have on this webinar that you have all heard about one version of the truth. So let me give an example. The same customer should have one customer number across all applications. If one application shows customer number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and another one shows for the same customer 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, Guess what? That data has failed the consistency dimension of data quality. And that is something, again, I wait on this one. This is going to be phase two, phase three, for as I get to mature the organization, then I go into this more. Because it really forces organizations to standardize and harmonize their data. So I hope that makes sense. Consistency and why I wait on it. Hey, if I have a group, I have a strong CDO, a chief data officer, or a strong CISO, chief information security officer. If I have a strong individual there, oh, I'll go after it earlier. No question about it. But if I don't, then I need to wait a little bit. All right. Authority. Here's a good one too. Is the quality of the data backed by accumulated authority? This is again something I tend to wait a little bit. I normally do not do it in release one of my data quality program. So, what do I mean by accumulated authority? An example of this would be in an organization, you may create a certification process for data that actually measures data quality and does it programmatically. Maybe you even have a data store. So existing processes, practices, and data are inspected, corrected, and then you have a data steward or an owner who will certify the data, saying, hey, the data in this table, in this column is certified, it's right. We've checked it. Gold star, if you will, for people who like that sort of thing. Remediation, so recommendation. This is where data profiling becomes critical. All good data quality and data governance tools have data profiling. What is data profiling? It's an automatic process that looks at data within a column and gives you statistics and analytics on it. How many unique values are in it? How many null values? How many blanks? Because sometimes you're not supposed to have nulls. Sometimes you're not supposed to have blanks. How many unique values are there? So, for example, customer type. Let's say you have 20 of them in your organization. If you profile a column of data and it shows you have 1,000 different customer types, that's a problem. In fact, as I give this example, there was I don't want to name the state, because I'm about to cream them. But there was this large, kind of quasi-federal, but it's really commercial insurance hospital entity, and their executives were convinced their data was clean. Well, within this particular state, I think they had 71 counties. So we profiled county data and found they had, I think, over 1,000 unique values for county. County is something that you download from a .gov or a .state website. We should not be capable of arguing about how many counties are in your state. In this state's case, 71, period. Yet they have over 1,000 unique entries. That is data that is certainly is not consistent, would fail that spectacularly, which it did. But also they didn't have a certification process where they said, we're going to download county codes from this particular federal or government website, and we're going to make sure our data is matched to that. So anyway, this is the kind of thing that data profiling can provide. And what you see is you may have a data stewardship domain group for subject areas or domain values. So just in case not everyone gets to attend every webinar, when I talk about a domain or subject, I'm talking about the nouns of your organization. These are the 7 to 12 concepts or nouns that represent your business: product, customer, location, party, material if you're manufacturing. These are all common nouns. And you want to organize your data by product, and really less organize your data. You want to classify it. You want to organize your stewards around it. So anyway, I hope authority made sense. So again, I normally don't start here, but as we mature, I will have data stewardship organizations certify data. This is good. This is pristine. This way people know, hey, what are the good data sources to go to? Talk to a data scientist. They spend an incredible amount of their time, or an AI, Gen AI app builder, finding data that's accurate. It's a big piece of their life. All right, timeliness or currency. You'll hear this term. Is the data available in a timely manner and is it up to date? So let's say an analyst needs to see last month's sales data, but it's not available. They can't get last month's. Then the data has failed a timeliness check. So is it available in a timely manner? And this is one I've seen many times. I was working at a car manufacturing company. They were a client of ours, and they had a data warehouse that was a third level data warehouse. I'm a longtime data warehouse architect. I know what architecture works and what doesn't. And I was in shock. What's a third level data warehouse? It's a data warehouse that's getting its data from another data warehouse, second level. And that second level data warehouse, it's getting its data from another data warehouse. I've just given you the definition of bad architecture. Because when you have nested architectures like that, third level data warehouses, all the constraints of the second data warehouse are inherited to the third, along with all the constraints and timeliness issues of the first. So what does that mean? That sounded like I'm affecting the space-time continuum, which we cannot do if you've seen any movies nowadays. It always ends up badly. Well, let me explain this. So let's suppose you were at this car company, I almost said the name, and you were working in that the third level data warehouse. And you find out, hey, they update their data every week. Oh, great, every week. But they're getting their data from another data warehouse. It turns out they're updating their data every month. So are you getting weekly updates? No. You have to wait a month for new data. That's what I mean by it inherits the constraints of the earlier data warehouses. So timeliness and currency is always an issue with our data. The older the data is, that can impact an analysis. Hope that made sense to everyone. All right. Validity and conformity. This is a classic one. I almost always go after validity and conformity along with accuracy early on. Um, does the date, so validity, discusses whether or not the data adheres to a predefined format or rules or standards. Again, let's suppose we standardize on date. And this is something I almost always do, CCYYMMDD, or a dollar amount. So security number, what's your standardization on that? Is it a 9-digit numeric? Or is it an 11-digit alphanumeric with three numerics followed by a dash, followed by two, followed by another dash, followed by four? And for those of you, I know we have a big international audience. Social Security number is used for retirement accounts in the United States, for those who don't know. I don't know if that got rid of one of our questions, but it might have. Anyway, um, speaking of, we're going to be hitting those pretty soon. Uniqueness. We want to ensure that data is not duplicated within data sets and within applications. We don't want to have duplicate customer records. When we do, we have problems. So customer records should not be needlessly duplicated across applications. I'll give an example. I can name you an apparel company that all of you know that probably most of you own something from. And they had 22 order entry systems. 22. That means they had 22 versions of every customer record, potentially. Now, because most of their customers are big stores who feature their apparel, well, guess what? Many of those stores are international. So you can see where uniqueness was quite a problem for them. Big, big data issues. So uniqueness is another check. Again, something I don't normally go after phase one. Validity, I do. Accuracy, I do. Those are things that make sense to start with. Okay, three more. I don't know why I put three on a slide. That seems like too many. But anyway, security. This is a new one. You won't see it in the original 8 dimensions of data quality, but it needs to be there. Security classifications have been assigned to the data and defined. Many companies grapple with this. If you've been in one of my earlier webinars, not the last one, but I think maybe about a year ago, I went through my beginning security classifications, ones that I start with at an organization. So, and I think I even name them here. An organization may have security classifications like public, sensitive, secret, or top secret. So, for example, public information is things we don't care who has it. We'll let them download it for all we care. It's fine that people know this. Sensitive. This is something that maybe we really don't want. We don't want to publicly disclose it. Um, but it's not also that relevant. It's not damaging in any way. Secret, okay. This is something that's a trade secret. It's something that is critical to our organization. Think of research and development kind of data could fall into this. And top secret. So like this is like, oh my goodness, if this gets out, we are in deep trouble. Customer list would be a great example. So if you are let's say a large consulting firm, one of these multi-billion dollar entities, the last thing you want is your customer list to get out, along with contact names and addresses. That's about as top secret as it gets. R&D at a company that makes products, hugely important. So security classifications are vital and needed. Let me keep going because I see we're starting to run out of time. Regulatory. Which federal, state, and industry regulations does our data need to adhere to? So something like PII, Social Security number, that's going to hit into GDPR, CCPA if you're in the United States. There's a heap ton of regulatory issues around it. In fact, I could do a webinar only on that, but I don't know how many people would attend. It gets a little bit dry, the regulatory stuff after a while. Last but not least, relevance. How relevant is this data? And it really talks about the degree that the data is useful for its intended purpose. So the data could be accurate, it could be well defined, it could have the right format, but it just isn't relevant. It just doesn't meet our requirements. I've seen this many times. And that's why I share that, hey, data can meet the other 9 dimensions, but if it's not relevant to meet our needs, then that's a problem. All right, let me wrap this up and get to our questions because we don't have a lot of time. Let me wrap this up. In the final analysis, defining business terms with valid values allows your data quality management program to scale for the enterprise. That's what it does. When you define your business terms and you get your precise definitions, your valid values, your correct formats, this is something you can replicate across your hundreds or thousands of applications. Data quality remediation frameworks can take time to negotiate. Don't be a data dictator. Don't be that. You want to work with people. You want to enable quality data. Data quality dimensions are widely known, and they give you a great way of organizing your executive reporting. I always make sure I have executive reporting as part of my data quality program because executives now do care if the data is right. Data defect categories and rules, that should be part of your data quality software. It, I'll talk about this a lot next month. You can't do all this manually. You can start it there, but it's just too daunting. Good software is critical. With that, I'm going to invite Elizabeth back in. Feel free, if you have a question on your project, contact EW Solutions. We'd love to work with you. Or if you need training, we have that. Elizabeth, come on back in. Give me the hardest questions, the toughest questions, the ones that are supposed to stump me. Give me the gusto. I dare you.
All right. Well, Zaid Kamel has asked, do you have a pattern and a best way to define the definition of a business term? And what should be included to make it complete?
Great question. First off, go to that slide I had. A good definition should check all those boxes. So I want it to be stated in the singular, one paragraph or less. If you're going into the second paragraph, too voluminous. I want it concise. Get to the point.
Mhm.
Get to the point. And then valid value set. I want a valid value set. That's not part of the definition, but part of a business term. And I want a good format if a format is applicable. If it's an open text field, then it isn't. But I want to make sure no tautologies. My goodness. Who asked the question again?
This was Zaid Kamel.
Zeit. Zeit, I love this question. No tautologies. No data customer type is a type of customer. I don't want that. That tells me nothing. The definition should give me more than what the business term says. So no tautology, concise, one paragraph or less, more than one sentence. If you have one sentence, it's probably too little. Um, get to the point. I should not have to be an expert in the data to read that definition and understand what it's about. Great, great question. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to give you on that one. Um, oh my goodness, use standards where you can. ISO has a lot of this stuff. So when you talk about country code, state code, zip code code, when you talk about um, county code, when you talk about dates, ISO has standards for a lot of this. Don't reinvent the wheel. Take their stuff. That's why it's out there and leverage it into your data quality program. Great question.
All right, we've got another question from Barry Goldstein. Barry, nice to see you back again, joining us. And Barry asks, with today's modern new cloud applications, oftentimes data validations are already built in to ensure good quality. Are there still weaknesses you see? For example, many
100
critical fields are required, certain formats are mandated, etc. Does data quality still play a role?
100% it does. And in many ways, I can argue it both ways. It's better and it's worse, Barry. So Barry's our guy for those who weren't at the last one. He gives me some good questions. This is a nuanced, complicated question. So let me start here. When you build your cloud application well, so I don't know if you're talking about third-party apps or some custom cloud app. What's nice about a cloud application is you can distribute it across your global enterprise. And that is hard to do sometimes because, and that's the beauty of cloud. We use it at EW Solutions where we're all on the cloud. I can take my laptop, I can fly anywhere in the world and get to terabytes of data at the press of a button as long as I have an internet connection. So if you're talking about about building something in the cloud and you have tight data entry controls, kind of like Workday apps and Salesforce and things like that, those can be pretty good if you have done a great job in building the application. So you don't build the application, you configure the application. Did you define your customer types? Did you define your transaction types? Did you define all this stuff correctly in it? That's an advantage and it can make it easier. However, here's the other side. Here's the harder part. A lot of those third-party apps, you cannot read the source tables directly. You have to go through an API. I have worked with these APIs for the last 7 years. They're not that straightforward. They don't work nearly as well as they claim they work. And it will take somebody pretty darn smart to really go through and to test that. So the APIs, don't overlook how complicated that could be. Barry, great question, very nuanced. I know we have a minute and a half left, so
Yes, so also Barry had noted that he's talking about Workday, Salesforce, etc. So
perfect.
just so you're
Those
aware.
are
Yeah.
great app. Barry, thank you. Those are great applications. The way you configure it is the key. Configuration is key.
Okay. All right. Do we have time for one more question?
Yes, hit
Okay,
me. I'm
great.
going to answer it in under a minute.
Anjan Loft asks, what is the best approach to select critical data elements from all the data elements in a financial banking organization?
Oh my goodness. What a great question. Critical data elements. I want to pontificate, but I won't. What are the data elements that you need most? What's in your general ledger application? That'll be a good place to start because these are things, especially in a financial company, you have more strenuous reporting requirements than other organizations. Look at what's in your GL because what's in your GL is probably going to be some of your most critical items, along with various product and service information. You want to manage the things in critical data elements. 10 to 20% of your data gives you 80% of your value. So even when we talk about data quality and data governance, I don't want to manage everything because it's not useful. Manage the stuff that's vital first. Thank you so much. Elizabeth, take us away.
We're all done. That's it. That's all the time we have left for, and we got through all the questions today too. Oop, actually, yeah, actually, that is all the time that we have left for. So be sure to join us again for our next month's webinar. and continuing the series.
Yeah, do not miss it because we're going to have fun. And thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. I love some interaction. The heart to everybody else. Take
Yes,
care, all.
absolutely. Heart, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.